Olga, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me, Francesco.
It's a pleasure, and I'm really glad we got in touch through our coach at Vert, Steve, who is
Yeah,
your husband's coach. Um, and we got this opportunity for what I hope is going to be a very interesting conversation about health and performance, because you are a health and performance coach. So, first question that I wanted to ask you today, just give a short presentation of who you are. What is your job really about? Because
hmm
it's something pretty new to me. And you mentioned before this conversation that you're also a runner. So maybe
yeah,
a little background about you.
yeah. So my journey as a health and performance coach started a few years ago, and prior to this, I went through a massive burnout. I used to work in the corporate world, and a few years ago, I burned out physically, mentally, and emotionally, and yeah, basically decided to quit my job and find out, a better way of leading my life. So that time when I was focusing on um, recovering from burnout, changing my lifestyle. I found out that there is such thing as a health coach, and health coaches, they help people change their lifestyle and basically find a way how to live healthy and enjoy the life. And that wasn't really my goal, to become a coach, but I wanted to do something meaningful, and my big desire was to find this meaning. So that time I started looking for opportunities, and it seemed like the best one, to help people improve their lifestyle, to feel good, to perform well, and be able to achieve their goals. And at the moment when it was necessary for me to find my target audience, I thought I had my husband in front of me, and an amateur athlete who has a full-time job, plenty of life commitments, and also very ambitious goals in sport. And I thought that actually that's very interesting that not so many people focus on this field. And I thought that probably it would be interesting, to dig deeper. That time I also learned a lot about Formula One drivers and their performance coaches, and I found a lot of similarities in between Formula One drivers and amateur athletes. So basically, performance coaches of Formula One drivers, they help them structure their day in the best way possible, so they can be in the proper shape, they are fit in order to perform at the right moment on a track. And I thought, why wouldn't I do the same for amateur athletes? I would help them to structure their daily life, to find their nutrition, sleep, recovery, set the right mindset in order to feel good, perform well, and achieve their desired goals. So that's basically what I do.
That's pretty cool. It's definitely something interesting to me because I think our society has a lot of problems, and definitely see a lot of people dealing with huge amounts of stress due to work, due to their lifestyle, and
Totally.
like not really able to take control of their lives. So this is very interesting to me. And one question that I had listening to your answer is like, how did you have the courage to quit your job and start a whole new different life? Like, I think this is one of the main reasons why you started this job, or
Mm,
to be a health and performance coach. But I think it takes a lot of courage to take the first step in this direction. So what was the
yeah,
experience like for you?
yeah. To be honest, I was terrifying. On one hand, I felt so exhausted. I had difficulties to wake up in the morning, to get up from bed.
Wow.
My emotions were all over the place. I was like, a bomb that was about to explode and never was really sure when the bomb is going to explode. And it was just horrible. I couldn't control my emotions. And at the same time, of course, I was not as sharp as I needed. And this decision came to me once when I realized that there is no one to go. There is nowhere to go, and basically I picked the ceiling, and very unlikely I will be able to achieve anything anymore in the area that I worked at the moment, because I just didn't have any interest anymore to develop there. Plus, I constantly, had this idea on the back of my mind that I wanted to do something meaningful, and that at that point, I didn't feel good about what I was doing. I didn't feel, as much satisfaction as before. And my husband got a job offer, and we were about to move to Istanbul. And he basically suggested me to just to give it a shot. So to quit my job and just take time to relax, untouch, and look for something new. And that's how it happened. I
Mm.
mean, those few months when I didn't really have an idea what exactly I can do, like what is going to be my future about, that was pretty much unpleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's really good that you had your husband on your side supporting you through this decision. I think it's
that's true.
fundamental to have
That's
people
true.
around you that that care about you and support your decision, whatever it is, for what is really good for you. And I think a lot of times we put ourselves um like constraints, or like we create boundaries for ourselves
Hmm.
that, until you don't have the courage to break, prevent you from really
Yeah,
achieving the change that you need. And
sure.
that to me is very powerful. Like, as always, it's all about like taking the first step, and then everything will progress from there. Like, sometimes I think we are very intimidated by, maybe not have the financial security of not having a job for a few months, for example. And of course, not everyone
Hmm.
has this possibility, or to figure out some practical things of how to organize our life.
Hmm.
But we don't really understand that these are just secondary things that we will figure it out once we're there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, until you give it a shot, until you try, you will never know what
Yeah,
actually,
it
what
was a little bit the
what
same
the
for
future
me.
can. Yeah.
When I was a teacher in high school before I started
Oh, really?
my
I didn't know
career.
this.
Yeah, before I started my career as a professional runner, and
Hmm.
also as a coach for Vert.run. I was a teacher in high school, so like I had a full-time occupation, and I was you know uh yeah, a public employee basically, so I had my salary and everything. And it was
Yeah.
not an easy decision to decide to quit that um in the middle of the pandemic, because it was in 2020, and
Mm,
decide to do something completely different. Of course, I was a good athlete, and I knew that I
mm,
could get some
mm.
opportunities from sponsors and win some races and perform. So it was not like totally unrealistic, but
From
still,
the scratch. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
but still, maybe on a smaller scale, I found myself in a similar situation
But
as you
still,
probably
it's
were.
it's so brave. It's so brave from your side. I mean, for me, it actually also happened nearly, at the pandemic time.
Yeah,
Um, I think all these boundaries, they're mainly in our heads, that we set these boundaries and we stick to them, and that this fear, to take step left, step right, it's all inside our heads. And therefore, I think mindset is one of the things that are crucial, to work on, crucial to continue developing growth mindset, believing that you're a power, you have a power to change your life, you have the power to become better, to develop yourself, to achieve what you desire, that you deserve what you desire.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think to have this self-confidence and also self-love is
Mm,
really hard sometimes. I'm not
100%.
someone who has a very strong belief in myself, in my possibilities, but I know it's fundamental for for performance, for just for me as a person to take care of myself, to be kind to myself. I find is really, really fundamental.
Totally. Totally.
Um, so like we were talking about these kind of boundaries that we create for ourselves, and I think they also have a meaning, a purpose, a reason to we have a reason to feel them somehow. Um, but we were, exchanging a few emails before this conversation and talking about routines. And I think
Yeah.
this kind of collides with the idea of of a routine. Like you're a health and performance coach and you help people developing routines. And
Right.
at the same time, you're telling me that like basically you destroyed your own routine, your what used to be your daily life, and you totally changed what your daily
Yeah.
life was about. So I've always been a little intimidated by routines, in a sense that
Yeah.
I don't always want to create habits and constraints and boundaries that maybe are just in my mind. I think that being flexible and accepting change and also deviating from our daily routine can be really positive in a lot of ways. But at the same
Yeah.
time, as you taught me, as you tell people, routines are really helpful, and I think they allow people to be efficient in a lot of everyday tasks, and they also help us focus on what really matters, and they're just very useful in some circumstances. So, like, what do you think about this contrast? And
hmm
can you maybe explain a little better how you help
Yeah.
people build routines and what actually are
Yeah.
these routines?
First of all, I have to mention that something that I quit was not really a very structured life and full
Mhm.
of routines. That
Okay.
time, I I basically disregard everything, all the basic needs. So that time, I didn't sleep enough. I constantly traveled around the world for business, prioritize my clients over myself and my family. So the life that I quit actually was contrary to what I'm doing now. And speaking about routines, I agree that this idea can be intimidating. And I hear from many people that it's so scary, to bring yourself into this very structured and rigid life. But in fact, I think that every idea, when you take this idea to an extreme, then nothing good comes out of it. So you have to be very smart with this. Routines, they help us to structure our life, to become more efficient, to understand where our time goes. They allow us to avoid, all these stressful thoughts about what comes next. And at the same time, they give us freedom, to choose. Because again, if this routine for some reason doesn't help you, it doesn't help you to succeed in whatever you are aim for, then you always have a chance to change it, to adjust it. So I would say that routines, they're really good when you are approach it in a smart way. For example, routines by themselves, they never work when they are not mm, connected to a goal. Yeah, so there should be a reason why you have this or that routine. Routine also wouldn't be very beneficial when you don't track your progress, when you don't really understand. Like if you do things for sake of doing, yeah, that's your choice. But in fact, if you want to achieve something, that would be really beneficial to understand if you're improving or not. So daily routines, that actually they give a lot of power if you design them in the smart way, and
Yeah.
then be able to adjust.
If you're flexible enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you maybe give a few examples of what some of these routines can look like?
Um,
Like what areas
y-
of our lives can
yeah.
concern or can be related to?
Okay. So when we speak about sport, yeah. So if we
Yeah.
speak, for example, about maximizing performance, then I would say four pillars. Those are nutrition, sleep, recovery, and mindset. I also thought about training, um, but I also, like when you asked me, when you shared with me those questions, I thought like that not so many people actually require a routine around training. When they sign up for a competition, they usually, the first thing that they make their head around is like where I'm going to get my training program, who is going to be my training coach. But very few people ask themselves if I actually know what I need to eat, if my sleep is in order, if I understand how to recover. And I think that's the most important. So most of the routines where we need to have them, they're actually not there. So I would say if you are preparing for a competition, that would be really nice to think about nutrition, sleep, recovery, and mindset.
Yeah, I definitely agree on this holistic approach to training and performance. Also, I recorded a previous podcast with a sports scientist, and we were talking about HRV, the heart rate
Mhm.
variability, and how it's influenced by not just our training, but every kind of stress that we have in our life. And it's the same in this case. I think training is not something separate from our everyday life or
Mhm.
just the normal life of any person. Everything that we do outside of training influences the way our body adapts during training itself. So
True.
like it totally makes sense to not just take into account the training itself, the workouts, what we're doing in the hour or so that we go running every day, but everything else that is around training and has an influence on it. So uh going back to your answer, nutrition,
Mhm.
recovery, sleep, and mindset.
Mindset. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do routines affect those four areas? And can you maybe give some examples of how you help people build routines around those
Yeah,
four
definitely.
areas?
Definitely. Um, so how they can affect it's in a in the various ways. So, for example, when you understand that your performance is not where you want it to be, then there is always, deep down we know what exactly is not in order. For example, there should be sleep or nutrition, and when we have an idea on how to improve it, what actually do we start from? Um, if we speak about sleep, yes, so many people they start with taking pills, sleep pills, or some supplements, which is a completely wrong way. Probably it would be better to start with a bedtime routine in order to wind down after a stressful day, untouched from everything what relates to work, training, and be able to feel relaxed and prepare yourself for bedtime. So routine would be exactly around this area. So if you want to improve your sleep, start from creating a bedtime routine. And again, there is no ideal bedtime routine. There's only a routine that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
So there wouldn't be ever a suggestion from my side to go for this, that, and another one action. Yeah, there would be always a conversation in between me and my client when we will be exploring what actually they think would be ideal for them in order to feel relaxed. What ideas they have. And for us, it's also for me and my clients, it's also important to remember that this routine should be very nicely incorporated in their real day-to-day lifestyle. Because if it's something, taking from the internet, just because someone said that it's going to work nicely, and there is no chance that you can apply it to your lifestyle, then very unlikely you will follow it. Yeah. So when someone says, yeah, like some athlete or celebrity says that he or she is in bed at 9 o'clock and it's the right time to be in bed, and you probably finish working at 8 o'clock, or you finish your training after work at 8 o'clock, then there is no chance for you to be in bed at 9. Yeah, so those are small nuances that are very important to consider creating a routine. And a well-designed routine is, again, is the one that fits your own lifestyle.
Yeah. In this regard, I think I look at these kind of routines as like self-care more than, like, I like to use these words instead of
Mm-hmm.
maybe routines that to me is a little more a little colder or more like mechanic. But self-care feels like something closer to, to my personality or to just who I am.
It's
But
a great way to, yeah, it's a great way to rewarding. I mean,
yeah.
that's very true. Routines for some people, they sound a bit more like discipline, like
Mhm.
an army style behavior, which is totally wrong. This is
Yeah.
the thing that you always can play with, and it's more about self-care. That's very, very true.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to better take care of ourselves a lot of
Yeah.
times. And like, I think it's a lot about setting priorities and really put ourselves at the center of our decision without thinking that this will disappoint other people or will, take anything away from the people that we care about or the people that are in our family or our friends or people we love. Because oftentimes
Correct.
when we or I think I've understood that when we are in a good place physically and mentally, we're often better and more caring towards other people too. So that's
That's true.
important.
Yeah.
Um,
That's like pour your cup first in order to yeah, pour cups of the
yeah,
others.
yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so maybe we give the example of sleep. So we've understood that it should not be something forced or just copied and applied to our life. Um,
Yeah.
there is a whole discussion and reasoning around it to find what really works for us, uh,
Definitely.
like
Because
according to
we're
our
we're all,
lifestyle.
we're all different. We're
Yeah,
all different, and everyone would find peace and calm in different ways, and it's absolutely fine.
yeah,
So someone would like to read before bed, someone would like to listen to a music, someone would like to chat with a partner, and it's totally fine as long as it helps you to calm down.
yeah. Can you maybe give other examples about maybe nutrition or recovery, which is another very important aspect of training that is often very overlooked? Because coming back to your answer, maybe someone comes to you, maybe an athlete or an amateur athlete, and because they're not performing the way they expect, and
Yeah,
a lot of times they blame their training or like not
sure.
working hard enough in training, but without considering all these other aspects. And the first one that we really try to understand and focus on as coaches at Vert is of course recovery. Recovery is part of training, and without it, there would be no growth, no improvement. So
That's true.
how, like, what do you think about it?
Recovery, I would break down recovery into two ways. There is mental recovery and physical recovery. And definitely recovery overall is very underrated, although there is so much hype about like sauna, about ice bath, and some other stuff like this. But still, you know, there is not much attention given to simple relaxation, like hanging out with friends, doing something you love. I don't know,
Of course,
cooking, just like, you know,
of course,
hiking
like
in the park. Yeah,
athletes, uh, they always highlight, okay, today I went for like a 3 hour long run. They will never say this afternoon I slept for 3 hours because
that's true. Yeah,
you
just a
know,
simple
yeah,
nap can change a lot. Um, but again, coming back to mental recovery, there is also so many things. Like most of us, we besides training, we also work. So can we really separate training and work? Can we
mhm,
untouch one from another? Um, and it also happens, for example, in the evening. In the evening there is so much happening in our head, and we just can't get rid of those thoughts. So there is always an opportunity, you know, to learn to untouch, you know, to free your mind in order to feel
disconnect.
more
Yeah,
relaxed. Yeah, yeah. Then doing something different, you know, there is work, there is training, but we have so many more skills to improve, which we never focus on. And those things, for example, they help us to create another identity, you know, to become better at something else. There is so much focus sometimes on, you know, I am this or I am
mhm.
that, but there are a lot of identities that we carry, and mastery is one of the elements of mental recovery that helps us to again to become better. And mastery, that can be, you know, learning another language, working as a volunteer, doing just something different. There is also relaxation, you know. Relaxation, it can be massage, it can be just doing nothing, like laying on a sofa and spending time, you know, on your own. There is also, like, not very many people, you know, consider those things. They think that, like, in order to recover, I have to work on something, I have to do something. And just chatting with a friend, spending time with a partner, they don't take it really seriously. But those things also help us relax, they help us feel better, more like finding ourselves in a comfortable zone, like safe zone.
I think it has to
Uh,
do a lot with our human nature. Like, we are social animals. We need connections with other people. We need to talk to our friends, to our partners, to our family. That is often overlooked.
Definitely.
We're often so self-centered. And also, like, I like what you mentioned about recovery not necessarily be something active that we have to do,
Yeah.
but something that can be passive. Like, just, I don't know, do whatever feels good at in that
Yeah.
moment without
Yeah.
without it being, I don't know, any kind of particular activity. It can be
Yeah. Like hard
reading a book,
work.
or
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not
Yeah.
something
That's true.
that feels like a core. So yeah. And
Another,
yeah,
oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Another element of recovery is actually control. You know, when
Mm.
you can decide what you are doing at this particular moment. And that's something we're also not really good at, because there are like friends want to spend time with you, like your parents, like your family expect you to devote some
Yeah.
time with them. And that's actually also very important, that there are moments when you simply can say, no, that's when I want to be on my own. I want to read a book, I want to have a walk, I want whatever, but that's my time. And
This
those
goes back to putting ourselves at the center of
yeah,
our decisions, I think.
definitely. Yeah, so those elements of recovery, mental recovery, they're essential to consider.
Yeah.
And physical recovery, it's definitely, I mean, you mentioned nap, and I think it's something very much underestimated, that uh, 1 hour, like 30 minutes, like some people do 15-minute power nap. Yeah, so then, if you have time for 1 hour, it's very powerful. Many people think wake up recovered, rejuvenated. And then again, I think warm up, cool down before and after run, they're also very much
Yeah.
not considerate enough.
Yeah. And why do you think we always make excuses that we don't have enough time for recovery? Like when we decide to cut down on something, it's always recovery, basically.
Hmm.
Because I think part of it has to do with the narrative. Again, what I was mentioning, like nobody uh is proud to
Yeah,
just not do anything. Like we have to be productive and you have to show people that you're doing something, that you're multitasking, that
yeah,
you do many things. So recovery is not really seen as something very cool. And I was actually writing about it on Instagram a while ago, and then I mentioned like we should make recovery cool, because it's a lot of time
totally.
it's really what we need, more than hard workouts or
Yeah,
incredible achievements or things that
yeah,
we might want to do. A lot of
yeah,
times it's the answer is much more simple.
yeah.
So what is your objection to that?
I also mentioned once on Instagram that it's just not sexy enough, to speak
Mm,
about that you slept or that you stretched. Yeah, people want to see how people do PRs, weightlifting or running.
yeah.
It's much more attractive, of course, for to get new followers and to get likes.
Mm,
But speaking about excuses that we don't have enough time, it's just like, why, how can you know if you have enough time if you don't track your time? When you don't know where your time goes, when you don't have an idea what you're actually busy with, then definitely it's much easier to say, I don't have time.
yeah.
Like a person wakes up, go to work, come back, go to bed, and that's it. And that's how, the day is over. Therefore, actually, often I start with my clients, regardless of what we're going to improve. For example, nutrition. We start from with tracking food. If there is not enough time for, let's say, I don't know, training, yeah, we start tracking daily activities. If there is not enough time for recovery, we again start tracking how exactly the day looks like. So that would be the ideal, first to understand where you are at the moment, because once you're aware, uh, when you really have a clear picture of what you are doing at the moment, then of course only after you can start changing it. You can't change what you don't know
We don't
about.
know. Yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah. It's all about having the courage to go in this direction once again, I think. And
But it can be very scary. It can be
yeah,
very
of
scary,
course.
to track time and finally finding out that you spend like up to 3 to 4 hours just scrolling on Instagram
Yep.
or watching YouTube videos. And I had a few clients, and they literally cried finding out that they use their
We're
like
wasting
the
so
way
much
the
time.
waste time, yeah, this way.
Yeah, yeah, of course, it can be daunting.
Mm-hmm.
But once we, regain power over those things, like we regain control over our lives, I think we're in a much better place to take care of ourselves and
And the
really,
information is power. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I wanted to come back regarding your answer is how our personality is often tied to, one areas of our life. Like, for example, I'm an athlete. So, like, of course, I have high expectations for myself, and people expect me to be and to act in a certain way because I'm an athlete. And for me, it's very important, and I have to constantly remind myself that I'm not just an athlete. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
just someone who is worth because
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to race hard and produce results and performance. I'm many, many more things. And this happens
Definitely.
in particular when I'm injured and I cannot run. So, like, the purpose of what I do on a daily basis is goes out of the window basically because
Mm-hmm.
you're not training, you feel like you don't have a purpose anymore, you're not
Yeah,
racing, you're not like your life is screwed up. And to focus on all the other things that you are oftentimes is not easy. So that's another very interesting thing that I found about your answer. I think a lot of times we set constraints or boundaries that are just in our mind, and once we understand them and like we I don't think we necessarily have to find a solution, but to understand these processes and this mental dynamics, I think is again information is power. So once we understand them better, we're in a much better place to make conscious decisions and really
definitely.
decide where we want to put our attention and our like the weight of our decisions and yeah, just the things that we care about.
Interesting what you say about identity, because many people forget that there is much more than one identity we carry,
Exactly.
and that's why we actually have so much struggle to make changes in our life. That's why we can't quit our job, because we're so much associate ourselves with this position.
Mhm.
And so many people, when you meet them, they say, I'm CEO, or like I'm a founder of startup, and that's it. But also in the meantime, you're a husband, a brother, a leader of community probably, and that there is so many things, and therefore it's important, to consider this mastery element of recovery and develop yourself in different directions, and remind yourself that you're good here, but you're also good here, there, and there. And that's what you will make you feel more fulfilled, more accomplished, and I think much less discouraged when something like injury happens, because you understand that, okay, currently I can't train, but I can devote my time to all these other things that I'm also good at.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Digging a little deeper into the relationship between routines and sports, especially in
Hmm.
endurance sports, to me it's very interesting to reflect on the fact that training often consists in repeating the same exercise or task over and over until we master it or we get better. Like distance running, trail running, and all endurance sports are very repetitive activities. And like in the end, the best athletes are often the best. Yeah, of course, it's because of their talent, but because they're very consistent. So I would like to better understand the relationship between consistency and establishing routines in our lives for success in sport.
So when we speak about daily routines, it's probably also worth understanding that daily routines, those, as I mentioned at the beginning, those that connect to our goals and those that help us to live like kind of an easier life. Yeah. And consistency, it's also another one that some people mixing up. So consistency isn't frequency. Yeah. So it's not about how often you do something, but how good you are at doing this regular.
Yeah.
And doing some things consistently, bringing us to the point that we don't really think much about doing these things. Yeah. So for example, brushing teeth. Yeah, you don't feel like you don't make a lot of thoughts about like, shall I brush my teeth today or probably tomorrow? Like, I'm not in the mood to brush my teeth. No, you just wake up and go and brush your teeth, and you've been doing it probably many years, and it also became your second nature. And with all the routines that you work on a regular basis, on a consistent basis, they all become your second nature. Whether it's do grocery shopping and meal prepping on Sunday, or switching your phone off 2 hours before bed, it becomes part of your daily life, and it feels safe. It feels good, and you like feel more in the comfortable zone when you do it. But it's worth also mentioning that if we speak about the correlation between consistency and success, then we also should mention progress tracking, because doing something consistently and doesn't bring us any guarantee that we can become better or achieve what is desired, unless we bring awareness to what we do, unless we become mindful. Therefore, I would always recommend my clients to follow a habit tracker, to do a weekly reflection and to keep asking themselves, like, what was my biggest achievement this week? What didn't go as planned? What could I do differently? What did I learn about myself? And only after collecting this information, you can work it out and then apply it in a different way. So that's how I think consistency connects to success, only together with more awareness, mindfulness, which includes progress tracking.
So it's like basically consistency combined with our ability to constantly readjust the target and the purpose and the way we do things, basically, not just
True.
stubbornly repeating routines or things over and over,
Yeah.
but like really asking ourselves, how are we doing it and why, and like what progress has whatever we do brought
Yeah.
to our lives or to whatever goal we may have.
Correct. I mean, like, it's also always good to ask yourself, like, what does show me that I'm closer to my goal? Yeah. And what metrics do you usually use in order to understand that you're becoming better?
Yeah.
A lot of people, they take this outcome goal, like participation in an event, and then they measure if they're good or they're worse. But there is so much happening in our daily life that also can help us to improve and moving slowly but steadily up.
Yeah. Yeah. This is very interesting because I think a lot of times we make the mistake to think that progress is linear and
Mm,
only tied to one variable. So, for example, when it comes to training, you cannot expect that the times that you run during training improve every single week in
no,
a
not at
linear
all.
way. We improve in many directions and in many areas of our life. Even when it comes to training, there is not just progress that comes from running faster a given distance, but it can be progress in many ways. And a lot of times we make the mistake to think that progress is linear, while
Hmm.
it's not. Like it has a lot of up and downs. It's got
Yeah,
plateaus, it's
totally.
got periods
Hmm.
of stagnation, and it's hard to stay focused and keep the motivation and not lose sight of our goal during those times when things are not really improving the way we expect.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
there is also this challenge, I think.
Interestingly, there is so many people, they think the harder they train, the better they
Oh
become.
yeah.
And probably you know it. And that's
Yeah.
actually another thing. Like I literally had a few clients who like, we want to train 7 times, 7 days a week, and like do it like a few hours a day. And that's it, no attention to anything else but training. And then still they see there is no progress coming. They see they're not getting better, but they also are not willing to change anything. They don't believe,
Mhm.
that anything else can help that, but, training harder and harder. And that's also a very interesting thing when you think about it, is that many people, they live in a bubble. They're sure that what they do at the moment is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, and step right and step left won't really help much. And they have their own idea of how to improve their performance. But sometimes that's very essential, just to rely on an expert, on a professional who has the knowledge, who has the experience, to guide you and to show you there are so many other ways, how you can improve. And this, to be brave enough, probably even sometimes, to step back and say, okay, I
Yeah.
need to slow down in order in order to speed up. So yeah.
Later. Yeah. Yeah, I think oftentimes the mental cost of change is greater than trying harder. So we rely so much on our own motivation and strength without understanding that motivation is limited. Like you can't get anywhere you want just because you can try harder and you're willing to go harder than anyone else. Like everyone is putting
Hmm.
in hard work and everyone
Yeah.
is trying to be consistent. I think there needs to be other ways of thinking and other strategies to get to the same results. That is probably closer to what we need, who we are, our well-being, our again self-love. I don't know how to describe it.
But don't you find it isn't easy to handle everything on your own? When you are the only person you can share your thoughts and
Hmm.
ideas.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I I notice so often that only not even with clients, just like by talking to people, either doing a discovery call or doing some other calls, I notice that people tell me uh, I help them just because I listen to them. and they be able, I
Oh
created a
yeah,
safe environment, and they be able to speak up, to share what worries them. Only, talking to another person, and if it's not usually it's not a friend, it's not
yeah,
partner at some point, but the professional, talking to a professional about what worries you, your pain points, your goals and ideas, already this can help a lot.
definitely. Yeah, I found it so useful. This is the reason why I work with a coach for my
Mm-hmm.
training, and why I also have a therapist, sort of, we can call
Yeah,
it a psychologist or a mental coach or whatever, but just someone I can really talk to and fully express myself without constraints and without
totally.
thinking about the consequences, or without hiding any aspect of my personality. It
Mm-hmm.
really helps me empty myself, uh, understand who I am, feel less alone. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's been a life-changing thing for sure.
Yeah, good for you. You're a brave person, and again, you're a man. For men it's not as easy for women. Statistics show that still, there are so many men that don't trust therapy, and they don't
Mhm.
enter this field, which is
Yeah,
very sad, because it's indeed it's a game changer.
yeah, yeah. It's for sure not a sign of weakness. On the
No,
contrary,
no.
is
Yeah.
a great sign of courage, I think. And it does make a difference. Cool. Um, okay, so maybe going towards the end of our conversation, I think we touched a lot of very interesting topics, and I hope our audience will be interested in learning more. Um,
Maybe you want to talk about motivation.
yeah, sure. The relationship, it's something that I mentioned before.
Yeah.
The relationship between routines and motivation. I mentioned that I think motivation is something, is a very powerful strength, but not something that we can rely on too much, or
No,
like
no,
not all the
totally.
time. And like, how does motivation position itself
Mm-hmm.
with respect in respect of routines and working towards a goal? How much should we rely on motivation, and how much we shouldn't?
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I personally never rely on motivation, and I think that because we all know that motivation have a tendency to disappear, I believe in meaningful goals, in consistent actions, daily routines, and ability to adjust, which implies the right mindset. And I think these four, they're very powerful in order to achieve the success you desire. Now, meaningful goals, those are the goals that connected to your life priorities, life values, basically those that are very clear to you, like why you want to go there. Daily routines, those which designed for you, considering your day-to-day real life, and those that help you slowly but steadily improve, and again come where you want to be. And ability to adjust is, I think, it's one of the most powerful things, that because life happens, and there are plenty of things happen which we can't control,
Yeah,
and the only we can do at this moment, adjust and move on. For example, um, as you know, we moved from Turkey to Germany, and it was a massive move. I mean, we moved the entire house, so furniture, kitchen, paintings, deco, everything. So it took us like 1 week to pack everything in Turkey. And then we moved here to Germany, spent some time in an apartment until the truck came with all our stuff. And then it took us 2 weeks more in order to unpack and settle everything down, bring the house in order. And it would be so stupid from our side not to prioritize unpacking and bringing the house in order, and prioritize, for example, training and work, yeah, in this case, we wouldn't ever be able to sort this mess out in the house.
Yeah.
And therefore, at this moment, of course, you always need to understand like what is important at the moment. Yeah, what is the thing you have to focus on, and this ability to adjust is something that can help to avoid uh, can help to deal with those days when there is no motivation.
Yeah. I also think that good routines prevail on motivation oftentimes. So like I'm definitely not motivated to, train hard or train
Yeah,
smart or well every
yeah,
day. But I built this routine that I go out anyway and get the work done. So in this sense, I think routines prevail on motivation and allow
yeah,
me to get closer to my goal or to what I'm supposed to do or where I want to get. So
yeah,
I think from this little example we can understand that the power of routines over motivation or blaming ourselves for not doing something.
yeah.
If we set
But this,
up good routines
yeah,
and good habits, I think it's
yeah.
just so much easier to achieve what we want.
But there is so much more in this. Mm, I build these routines. Yeah,
Mhm.
there is also probably a supportive environment that you build. Yeah, so I'm guessing, yeah, you prepare your outfit beforehand. You know where you need to eat. You know how to cook, or someone cooks for you. There is so much more included into this. There is, creating a daily routine. It's also, sometimes asking for help, like delegating, some tasks to someone, which is also fine.
Yeah,
It's totally, especially it depends on how you put it. There is so much help that family and friends are ready to provide you with, especially when they know that you are currently preparing for a big thing, for a big competition, and they want to be part of your success. Yeah, they that's why they're happy to help, or it's one of the reasons. Of course, they're happy to help just because you're you, and they just love you as you are. But it's also cool, to give people an opportunity, to become part of someone's success,
of course.
to
Yeah,
do something meaningful. Therefore, asking for help and creating a supportive environment is something that's very beneficial.
yeah, yeah. I also wanted to highlight uh, the fact that we thrive or we just feel better about ourselves when we feel like we have a purpose. Like I think when we don't feel like what we're doing is useful to someone or to ourselves, it's very difficult to, keep doing that task or to progress. But if we feel like what we do is beneficial to ourselves or to someone else, that has a purpose, that has a value for someone, it's
Mm,
much easier. It's much better. It's probably one of the essence as human beings of our lives.
yeah,
Um,
I agree.
yeah. So final question, and of course, if you want to add any thoughts, feel free to do it. Just a few tips for designing an optimal routine uh, as athletes, as amateur athletes, as people who maybe have a job, have a family, have many things to deal with, but still care about running, training, performance, and just, living a happy life and
Yeah.
caring about herself.
Yeah. I would say to design an ideal routine for you, it would make sense, to start from a clear goal, to understand why actually you need this routine, what it will help you with, what's your eventual idea, like what you want to take out of it. Then to think small. So whatever action you think about, try to shrink it. The smaller the action, the better you will feel. So you won't feel overwhelmed, but at the same time doing this action, you will feel accomplishment, satisfaction, and it will help you, it will motivate you to continue. So very small actions. Let's say you want to improve your nutrition, and you don't know where to begin with. Let's start from eating a little bit more protein. Yeah, because in the most cases, people don't eat enough protein. A lot of studies show it. Or let's start from eating a feast of vegetables to the meals. Again, it's actually very good advice for those who want to reduce something, or like to stop eating something like sugar, sweets. So I would always recommend, instead of trying to stop doing something, start doing another thing. Yeah. So instead of stop eating sugar, start eating protein and vegetables to your meals. It's just one of the tips. So think small and try to implement as smaller actions as possible on a daily basis. Then embrace the suck. At the very beginning, it will it will always be like, gosh, I can't do it,
Yeah,
or no, again, I missed the day, and whatever else, or you realize that it was the wrong action. Yeah, you picked the wrong action. Probably you need another one, or probably there was the wrong goal. It also can happen. So whatever goes wrong, it's fine. It's totally part of the journey. Yeah, so don't beat up yourself
don't feel like
about
a
it.
failure.
No, no, never.
Yeah,
And again, at the very beginning, we all struggle. I mean, I still don't understand, those people who like, I'm bad at this, like they start doing a new thing and they complain that they're bad at doing it. And I'm like, yeah, it's always like part of our nature. Yeah, when we start doing something, we're usually bad at it. So why shall we complain? Yeah. And get patient. It will take time. Creating a daily routine, it's just like discovering finally what works for you, what doesn't work. Constantly, doing fine tuning. It will take up to a few weeks to a year, and it's totally fine. Again, it's not your mistake that you're like again a failure or you're different. Yeah, indeed, you are different. We're all different, and we all require different time in order to come to the point where we want to be. So please, yeah, be patient and don't try to rush. I mean, when we try to rush, usually we don't achieve the right
yeah,
result. Yeah,
right. It's like coming back from an injury. If you try to run too soon, you end up getting injured again and not being back to what you love.
that's
So
true. And
I
the
think,
last
yeah,
one,
yeah.
probably in this list, track your progress. I
Hmm.
think it's the one that will keep you motivated, keep you moving
Accountable.
on. Again, yeah, is if you see all these notes about what you've been doing, where you are now, you will be able to compare. And it's always a good thing, to do on hard days, on days when you feel discouraged, demotivated, to come back to those notes like, okay, so that's where I started, and that's where I'm now. And probably, I'm not far from where I'm started, but I'm still, I'm moving, that direction where I want to be. So writing down, jotting down your thoughts, doing journaling, doing reflections. That's what I do with my clients, and I find it so powerful.
Very good. So set challenging but achievable goals. Give yourself time. Be kind to yourself. Embrace the mess or the suck. Don't feel like a failure.
Yeah,
All these things.
yeah.
Just for like a final reminder that is also really useful for me. Not just as an athlete, as a person, as a human being. Olga, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today. Maybe to wrap up our conversation, how can people get in touch with you? Where can they find you?
They find me on Instagram, which is amelina.health.
I will make sure to include your contacts in the show notes, of
Yeah,
course.
my website, which sounds the same, www.amelina.health. And my LinkedIn, Olya Amelina, I'm also there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So to anyone who maybe is curious to learn more or is, interested in getting in touch with Olga, please do. Very, very much suggested. Thank you again for being here today, and we hope you
Thank you.
enjoyed
It's
this
been my
episode.
pleasure. Been my
Awesome.
pleasure. Thank you for inviting.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks.
it.